Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. I'm Robin and you know what we're doing today? A vlog. And it's been a minute since I've vlogged, so this one's a little rough. It's a little rough, but bear with me. I'm trying to get back into the swing of things. But today we're gonna talk about one of my favorite things, and that's, I was gonna say communities, but this time we're gonna say cults. We're gonna say cults. It's so fascinating to me how people just get wrapped up into a community of what they think are like-minded people, and then sinister things start to happen. How did we get there? How did we start with maybe good intentions and end up in a place where we're all about manipulation and mind control? How do we start in a place where we're just like, I want to be a part of a family that believes in the same kinds of things, to end up drinking Kool-Aid? I don't know, but my interest in cults, it extends. We've got a little fiction cultness favorite. We've got some non-fiction cult favorites. I mean, I love a cult documentary. It's just such an interesting ride. And so today we're gonna go on a little cult ride. Come with me, if you will. Let's join a community of cultness. So today I'm gonna read 4 books. They're all fiction. One is Just Like Mother, about a motherhood cult. We're also going to read Gather the Daughters, which is about a doomsday cult living on an island. And then Sorrowland is about someone running away from a cult. So we're gonna read that too. And then last but not least, we're gonna read something creepy and scary, and we're gonna read Last Days, which is about another end of days cult, but they have long since been gone, but like now things are starting to happen again. So I'm very excited. Let's go on this journey. Let's read about the cults. Hello, good morning. It's actually not morning, it's afternoon, but I'm getting ready for the day, so here we are. So I read my 8 chapters of, I was about to say Bunny, that's not what I'm reading. I read my 8 chapters of Like Mother, and it already starts off strange. So we have this girl, Maeve, and she grew up in a cult. Like, you just know that off bat, like, you know she grew up in the cult. Well, for a little bit, for part of her childhood, she was in a cult, and she has this cousin, Andrea, and something happens at the cult, and they're separated. So Maeve ends up getting adopted, and we don't know what really happens to Andrea, but we do know that Maeve has been spending like a lot of her life looking for Andrea and what happened to her. Fast forward to present day, and by chance, because Maeve took one of those like ancestry type things, she finds Andrea, or Andrea finds her. Either way, they find each other. They meet up. Maeve is an editor. She's also not dating, but like she's having sex with this guy, Ryan. And like she just kind of feels like maybe there could be more for her life. Then enters Andrea. Andrea is this super successful businesswoman, and she's married. She does not have children because she was pregnant, she did give birth, and something like traumatic happened, and then the baby died. And so there's baby no more, which is really sad for Andrea because she wanted to be a mother. Like, she just talks about how she wants to be a mother. But then she goes on and she has created this business where she is creating these dolls that help women, like prior to being a mother, prepartum, I think that's the term they've been using, prepartum, or grieving the death of a child. And I mean, if we're gonna be honest, these dolls seem creepy as fuck. They remind me of those like reborn dolls I keep seeing on TikTok, and I'm just like, why? Just why? Those dolls really, really freak me out. But they start to catch up, And Andrea introduces them to their business partner, Emily. Emily is currently pregnant, and she's married to this dude. I want to say Rob, Micah. There are two husbands. One is Rob, one is Micah. One is married to Emily, one is married to Andrea. I cannot tell them apart. They are the same person. Anyway, Maeve meets Emily, and she feels like there's this weird energy coming from Emily. Like Emily's trying to compete with her because she's best friends with Andrea, and then all of a sudden Maeve is here, somebody who knows her from her past. Anyway, so where I'm at, Andrea and Maeve are connecting, and they go out to Andrea's house in the countryside, or maybe it's like upstate New York, maybe it's Connecticut, I don't know, somewhere. And Andrea lives in this big ass mansion. Also on the ride up there, Maeve is riding with Emily, her husband, and their son, Henry. Henry feels suspicious. I don't know what's going on with Henry, but I feel like he's not real, okay? He sounds like a real boy, but is he? So yeah, like it's just strange. Everybody's really strange. Andrea, Emily, their husbands, everyone is just like, everybody wants to have children. That's a woman's dream, to grow up and be a mother, and not only to be a mother, but like to have daughters. And it's just like, is that? Maeve is like, actually, that's the furthest thing that I want. I want no parts of that, especially growing up in the cult that she grew up where there was like only mothers or only women, and she's just like, no, motherhood not for me. So that's really where I am. They're really just setting up the like relationship between Andrea and Maeve, which also feels a little weird because Andrea keeps like saying things like, I forgive you, and I'm just like, forgive her for what? Like, what did she do? So it's like Andrea's weird because she was weird as a little girl, okay? But also Maeve is weird. I know that she's got some kind of secret for sure. I just don't know what that secret is. We don't know that as the reader, but it better come out. So yeah, that's where I am. I'm having a good time so far. It feels very weird and ominous, like something, once you enter Life Like Dolls, I think the chances of something being weird are very high. Very, very high. So yes, that's where we are. I'm having a grand old time. I'm gonna read my 8 chapters today because I read my 8 yesterday. So yeah. And what else? What else is happening? That's really it. I need to film some things today. I need to do some laundry today. I need to do things today and be a human, unfortunately for me. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna listen to more like Mother, because just like Mother. Why do I want to keep saying like Mother? But I'm gonna listen to more of that, and hopefully the weirdness increases. Okay, so I've been reading, and I just want to say, what is going on? What is going on? I feel like it gets weird, and then you're just like, okay, you get used to this level of weirdness, and then something else happens, and it just gets weirder. So Andrea and Maeve, they're connecting, and they're having these discussions about like motherhood and wanting to be a mom, and Maeve's just like, it's not for me, and Emily's like, don't be ridiculous, everybody wants this. Don't mind me, I'm just also cleaning up some things. Also, look at these cute little earrings I got. You see it? Can you see it? Can you see it? These cute little earrings that I got from a little market I went to a couple weeks ago. anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the weird things that is the motherhood cult. So Andrea is like, hey girl, you should be a mother. And they've developed these dolls to help women bond with children before like they have kids, or to like get them in preparation to be a mother, or to help them like grieve with the loss of a child. So that's happening. So Andre gives, what's her face? Maeve. She gives Maeve one of these dolls, and like, I don't know what the dolls, what's happening with the dolls. I don't know if they're real, if they're something magical happening with the dolls. You know what I mean? Is there something in the dolls that make people like just lose their shit and want to be a mother? I don't know. Maeve is with this doll, and it's just kind of like whatever. Weird things keep happening, which put her into a situation where she has to like watch Emily's son Henry. Still don't trust Henry. I don't believe he is real. Still don't. And like Emily does things, like there's one moment where she gets drunk and she just spills her guts to Maeve, but she's like, don't tell Andrea, Andrea will be so mad at me. And I'm like, what's Andrea gonna do to you, friend? What is she gonna do to you? Is she gonna lock you away somewhere until you change your mind and become a different person? What's gonna happen? Is there a chip in your brain that Andrea is controlling? Let us know. And then Andrea is also trying to like bring Maeve into her life, and like you can tell all of the bad things that are happening in Maeve's life are because of Andrea, but it's just like one bad thing after the other, and it's like, girl, get out now. So that's where I am with this. I think I'm like, let's see, where does it say that I am? I'm about 40% of the way into it, and it's so weird, and I'm so interested in knowing what their backstory is, what happened in the cult when they were in it, because it keeps alluding to a time when they were in the cult, but like they can't talk about it. We more talk about Maeve's time after she's been adopted by a family, and how she does like weird things that she may have done while she was like with the cult, and her new adopted parents are like, we don't do that, that's not normal. And they're also like, we don't talk about the past. Andrea also doesn't want to talk about the past, but she keeps alluding to Maeve having done something to her, and I'm just like, what did Maeve do? And so while I don't trust Andrea, I do not trust Maeve. And I think Emily is gonna spill the beans and tell too many secrets, which I am waiting for, if Emily survives at all, because I feel like Emily probably has all the secrets, and Andrea just can't let that information out, so she might kill her. One of the theories I had was that because there's a point where Andrea asks Maeve for something, and Maeve is just like flat out no, she's not doing it. And then after she says no, that's when Maeve's life just goes. And so I'm just like, what is gonna happen? Are they gonna kidnap Maeve and like try to force her into being a mother? Is she like just gonna steal her uterus and like everything and just be like, it's mine now? I don't know what's happening, and I want to. I'm gonna read a little bit more tonight. Right now I have to pack because I'm going on a trip with my mom. We're just like going to the beach for a couple of days with our dogs, and so I need to do that. But while I'm packing and stuff and folding the laundry, I am going to listen to the rest of my chapters. I think I have like 3 more chapters for the day, and then that'll wrap up today, and then I'll listen tomorrow. I'm so interested. I really want to know more about this motherhood cult that they came from. I think it was called like the Motherhood Collective. I really want to know more, and I'm hoping that I do find out at some point. Also, what is Maeve's secret? Why is Andrea so weird? I got to know. That's where I am. Thank you for listening to my random thoughts on this. Back to our regularly scheduled programming. Hello, good morning. So, I am not at home. I'm at my mom's house getting ready because we're heading to the beach in a little bit. But I wanted to give you guys an update. Oh my god, how's my battery already dead? I wanted to give you guys a little update. Hold. I'm gonna change the dead battery. I finished Just Like Mother. Why couldn't I remember that? But I was so excited to tell you guys. I finished Just Like Mother. yesterday, and whew, what a ride till the very end. I kind of regret starting with Just Like Mother because I am afraid that nothing will compare to what I just read. There will be no other cult book like the one I just read. So like, I don't remember where I last updated you, but obviously I'm not gonna get a bit away. Just know, don't trust anybody, obviously. We shouldn't trust anybody in any of these kinds of books, but just the twists and turns that this kept taking when you thought it was like, okay, it's gonna get better, it might get better, and then it never gets better. Like, it was just insane. I think I'm gonna have to give this like 4.5 stars. Here's my dilemma. Because now that Bloom has entered my life, I don't know how to stack this up against Bloom. Do I even like try to compare the two? I think they're different, but like the same, but different. I think I told you that Andrea finds Maeve, and then they start this connection. They try to rekindle their lost family relationship when the original motherhood cult disbanded. So you get a little bit more backstory about what happened with Maeve and Andrea in the cult, and then you also get to see this kind of new cult emerging, and it's just so wild how it all unfolds. Also, you know what one of my biggest pet peeves is why is it that when someone tells someone else in a moment of lucidity, you need to get out, the person never gets out? They always just like wait around. Like, girl, if somebody tells me to leave and they seem a little worried, I'm gonna leave. You do not have to worry about me. I'm leaving, okay? But no, none of these books ever does anyone ever leave. In a movie, no one ever leaves. Like in a creepy movie, you don't even have to tell me that you want me out. Like, if I live in a house that seems normal and then things start getting weird, I'm out. The house is yours. The house is yours. So yeah, that's a frustration. I think the development of Maeve's relationship with Andrea turned out really well. Like, you know, because from the beginning it's unsettling, but they've come from a very unsettling past. So it's kind of like, is this normal? Is this what families do? Is this what happens? And then you like couple that with feeling this intense love and emotion for someone. And so you're just like, you're all in, and you just don't think about the things that are happening, but like maybe you should. I got to 80%. I recommended it to Jess. And then I was like, I reserve the right to take that back if the last 20% sucks. But then, because it was like at 80% where I was like, I'm not really sure where this is going, and I don't know if this is just gonna tie up in like a nice, neat little bun? If this is gonna like turn out to like tie up all the loose ends in every question I've had. But then like something happens at the very end, and it's just like, what? And it was a good time. 4.5. I think I am not going to listen to an audiobook while I'm in the car. My mom, we haven't gotten her to that level of reader yet, you know what I mean? So I think we're just gonna like listen to music, chitter chat on the way, and when I get there, I will start reading Gather the Daughters. I feel like someone pitched it as like the Duggars. I was gonna say the Duggars meets Cult, but like honestly, but I think someone said it was like Duggar-like. But then I was kind of reading the first couple lines of the synopsis. I didn't want to read too much in case it gave anything away, but it was like there's a cult of women on an island, and I'm just like wondering if it's similar to this, where this was about a motherhood cult, and so like the emphasis on was on being a mother and wanting to have children. And so I wonder if this will be similar to that, since it is an island just full of women Where did the men come from if they're on an island? Are they just keeping them hostage? I don't know. We'll find out, and we'll find out why they're on the island, how they got to the island, what they're doing on the island. But before I do that, I'm gonna drive to the beach. Well, I'm going to drive to the place that we're staying. That is not on the beach, but it's very close. It's 2 blocks from me. It doesn't matter. You guys don't care. You guys do not care. Anyway, that's my update for Just Like Mother. I would say read it if you haven't. Loved it. And we're going to get right into Gather the Girls. Gather the Daughters. Why do I want to keep saying Gather the Girls? Gather the Daughters. Let's go. Is it windy? Maybe. Say hi, Mom. Hello. So, I have read maybe like 15% of this book. So the book is broken down into 4 parts. And not 4 parts. The book is broken down by seasons. And so I just started like the prologue and spring. So you have a perspective from like 3, 4 girls who are part of this, clearly a cult on an island. And they're all range in age from like 7 to, I don't know, early teens. And so far I can say I'm not interested. I'm not interested at all. There were some Duggar-esque things happening, of course. They had like these laws that they have to recite, and they talk about like how you have to obey your father and whatever he says, and then how fathers cannot like lay hands on daughters. But it's just very weird. Also, the women are not allowed to like commune together without a man being present, except when somebody's like giving birth. It's not weird. It's just like you don't really know what's happening because the girls don't have information because they're not allowed to know about the outside world. And so therefore we don't have information. But what we do know is that the world had some kind of cataclysmic event, and so the founders, like 12 founding families, came to this island and was like, we are going to live here and we're going to create a world that's not full of like destruction and immorality. And so they create this place on the island, and they have what these people are called wanderers, which are men who go back into the bigger world. They focus on like gathering things from the wider world while trying not to be tainted. So they bring like books and antiques. And I honestly think that like the wider world still exists, that these founding fathers thought that some terrible thing was going to happen, and in actuality it didn't. They just wanted to isolate themselves from the world on this island and create this new community for themselves. I don't think the community is great. There is this thing called the bleeding, obviously, when a girl gets her period for the first time, and then she has to come into fruition. I still don't know what fruition is. I'm very confusion because it's not explained, and the girls still don't really explain it. They don't really know. Especially the girls that are like younger, they just know that this is the thing that's supposed to happen. So, I don't know. I'm not really feeling it. Kindle tells me that I am 16% of the way in. I'm going to give it another season because we just finished spring, and so we're on to summer, which I think girls are scared of for some reason, but I don't know why the girls are scared of summer. Like, there's nothing in the book to indicate why they are afraid of summer. But I'm just here, hanging out on the beach with my mom. Mom, what are you reading?
News.
She's reading the news.
What are you reading?
I'm reading a book about cult.
You really ripped that wrist?
It's about these people that live on an island, and they have a cult.
Interesting.
I was gonna say you want to borrow it, but it's not my.
No, I don't think that's one that I want to read. Let me finish the other books you gave me. See, I still.
Oh yeah, hold on. Tell them, just tell them what you're reading. So I gave my mom another book. What book are you reading?
I don't remember.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The Vanishing Half.
I gave her The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett.
She gave me 5 books. It'll take me a whole year and a half to read them all. Yeah.
I gave her 5 books, but she's already read like five, six,
I've read 5 books.
5 books already. So me giving her 5 books, she read one of them in like a week. So she's really a reader in disguise. She's playing all of y'all like she's not a reader. But that's my update for now. I'll come back if something interesting happens or if I DNF this book, because that seems very, very likely. It's been a few days actually, but I had such a good time at the beach with my mom and our dogs, and Blair, he enjoyed being at the beach. That was his first time there, so he did a good job. I'm very glad that I got him shaved bald because I could only imagine all of the hair or all of the sand that would have been in his hair had he not been cut. Finished Gather the Girls, and now I feel like, having finished it, I can solidly say what it was about, what was going on. Is it about a cult? Yes, it is about a doomsday cult where they believe that you don't actually know where it is, you just kind of assume that it's America, and I don't know why I made that assumption, probably because everyone's shitty and awful, but you have these people who have left a mainland for an island because on the mainland there was this kind of destruction that happened, a moral destruction, a physical destruction of the world, and so they are living on this island. There were 10 founding families that came to the island, and they established some rules. Now the rules feel very icky, and it's like some of them are like, thou shalt not murder their neighbor, which, like, yeah, why was that a thing that we had to establish as a rule? But okay. Things like thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's property or goods, so no stealing. Basically, it's just kind of a structure for setting up how people on this island should live. There are some ickier rules, one of them being like, thou shalt not allow women who are not sister, daughter, or mother to gather without a man to guide them. So like, there's no moment in time when a group of women, more than 2 or 3 women, can gather without a man present, because who knows why? Is it because they think that the women are going to be rebellious? Are they thinking that the women are up to something? Who knows? But they are not allowed to gather without a man. And then there's like other rules that are very, very icky, like thou shalt not touch a daughter who has bled until she enters her summer of fruition. And it's not for the mothers, and this touching is not about like beating your daughter or hugging. It's about like inappropriate touching, which is like an unspoken thing that the fathers can do to the daughters, and everyone pretends like it's okay and it's normal. And as like, it's never explicitly on page, but like it's very much implied that that is what happens, that that is what goes on in this place. And so we're following 4 or 5 different girls, and they all have kind of different takes on it. There's this one girl, Janie, and everyone just thinks she's like a wild child. No one can tame her. And she is actually starving herself so that she never gets her period, because she feels like once she gets her period, then it's just going to be a terrible time. She's going to have to be married off to some man who is never their age, because they get their period, and then the following summer, whether that's weeks, months, or like the following year, the following summer they have their summer of fruition, where they gather with other girls who are also in their summer of fruition, and men, I was gonna say like boys, but no, they're all like old, like not, some of them are old men, but like much older men than they are, because you get your period, what, you're like, you could be any age really. So like, you get your period at 13, and at 14 you're married off to some dude who is like 25 or older. And it's just so icky. And then you have to, like, once you leave your father's home or your parents' home, then you are like basically the property of your husband, and you're not allowed to have more than 2 children, and people favor having daughters over sons. And it's a very weird place to be in. The relationships between the fathers and their daughters, it's strange. Like I was saying, Janie is starving herself to stave off her period so that she never has to go through this summer fruition. We've got another girl, Vanessa, whose father is a wanderer, who is a man who goes back into the kind of destroyed world to trade with the people that still exist there, and to gather materials that they can bring back to the island for use. And Vanessa feels like her relationship with her dad is just not right, but she doesn't know any other way, and she's just like, okay. But as soon as something happens to one of the girls, she starts to question what's going on the island, and is it okay? And then she starts talking with Janie, and Janie kind of brings together the girls of the island and says like, hey, why do you think that we're never allowed to gather? Why do you think that we have to marry these old dudes when we are basically still children ourselves? Why do you think, like, every summer every child gets to play and be free, but then come fall through spring, we have to be confined to our homes, be these good children, obey our parents? Like, why do you think all these things are? And then they start trying to come up with answers and reasons. I wish we would have gotten the perspective of either one of the older women, which we kind of do, but not quite, but like one of the mothers who had been a mother for a while. I wish we had got one of their perspectives, maybe the perspectives of one of the men on the island. Not that I'm a fan of any of the men, just one. Actually, there was one dude, and I was just like, yeah, but he couldn't do much. He couldn't do much. The ending for me was very unsatisfying. I felt like we came to no conclusions. Nothing was learned. I was just like, okay, this is where we end it. All in all, it did keep me interested enough to see where it was going, and it was about a cult, which was the purpose of reading it. And yeah, but I don't think it's not a favorite. I'm probably not going to think about it often after this. I'm going to take a little pause from cults for a second, and when I get back to it, I'm going to pick up Sorrowland by River Solomon. I've been up for a couple of hours. I decided to wake up because I wanted to get some reading done, but I had a lot of stuff happening. today, and I was like, I don't think I'm gonna get stuff done or like reading done today. So I woke up early, and I've been reading for a couple of hours, but I started, I don't know why I picked this up, like you could see the cover. I started Sorrowland by River Solomon. And so far, I'm not sure how I feel about it. What I've gathered is that we have Vern, who has escaped from like this black, I want to call I want to call it like this black Hotep cult. Kind of feels like that. They're not like a doomsday cult, but they definitely believe in separation from mainstream society, especially white people, because white people are the devil, and just everything terrible, which, well, but they really pride themselves on like naming each other after prominent black activists from like the beginning of American history. But in that cult, there's still, you know, the leader, the dude who is just ruling everyone with an iron fist, and what he says goes, and all of that shit. And so she's like, I'm not here with the shits. In fact, she is married off to the leader. I don't know whether it's as punishment or as a way to like keep her there, but she's married off to him. She ends up getting pregnant. So now she's like in the woods and has given birth to these twins. I'm a little confused by the timing of this. I don't know if this is like some fantastical timing, because I feel like she gave birth to the twins, and then they like started growing up very fast, but like they also, like, she gave birth to them, now they're kind of like toddlery age, but their language and communication skills are very progressed for like toddlers. So I'm not really sure what's happening. While they are in the woods, like trying to escape from the cult, they're being chased by this thing called the Fiend. Again, I'm not sure if the Fiend is like a person that has been sent out from the cult to chase people who have left, or if it's like some kind of monster. I'm still a little unclear on what the Fiend is. But Vern left. She took her kids and she said, I want a better life for them. And she's actually on her way to try to find her friend Lucy, who left the cult. And Lucy always said, like, I'm going to go to my aunt. And so she's trying to make it to Lucy's aunt because she feels like that would probably be the best place for them to be safe from the cult. Every now and then you get little glimpses of cult life for Vern and what was going on, how she had to be obedient, how they were giving them medicine, I think, to be a little compliant. And that was mostly for people who were being non-compliant. So they were really drugging people. And so it's something. I'm not, like I said, I'm not quite sure how I feel about it yet. Maybe about 25-30% of the way in. And so like that's a good chunk of the book right there. And so I'm just curious to see where this is going. Like, is Vern going to like create a new life for herself? Is she gonna get caught by this fiend thing that's like chasing after her? Also, like, she has no money. She has no money, no formal education. I don't think she can read. So, like, the resources are really limited here. So, I'm not really sure what's going to happen to Vern and her babies, but I hope they're okay. So, yeah, we're just going to chug along. Maybe if I get a break, I'll read a little bit more today. I'll definitely read some tonight. But that's where we are with Sorrowland. Good morning. So, I'm doing terrible with vlogging. Like, I don't know whether it's because I haven't done it in a while or what, but I'm just out of practice and whatever. I'm coming to you with my update for Sorrowland because I finished it. And honestly, I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, was it interesting? It took a turn that I was not expecting, but a pleasant kind of genre. Oh, hold on, I got a dog. All right, so it took a very unexpected turn. You know, I thought we were just dealing with kind of like a regular cult, but it's a cool cult. No, like a regular cult, and we weren't. There were way more kind of sci-fi elements that I was not expecting to show up in this. And I thought that it made it kind of cool because it explained a little bit about how Vern was connected to the cult. More characters entered the chat and became a part of this. People who were trying to help Vern or who knew about what was going on. And I really loved that they didn't question her or make her feel like she was crazy. They listened to her and they were like, well, we want to help. Which, to be fair, if somebody was like, hey, I'm in a cult and I'm trying to get away and this thing is happening to me, I would have been like, let's see if we can get you to the authorities. You know, maybe they're probably better to help you. I liked the character development of Vern, who was always like steadfast in that she didn't believe that what was happening in the cult was okay and that something was a little off, especially as it related to her purpose in the cult. And also like to the very end, she was like, I'm gonna get my people out of here. Like I may have to go back somehow, some way, but I'm gonna get them out of there. And like that was her determination. It was like to save her and her boys, and then to save her people that were still in the cult. But yeah, I enjoyed this. I'd obviously read more by River Solomon. Was it the cultiness that I was hoping for? Not exactly. But I had a good time with the unexpected kind of sci-fi element to this, where it wasn't just like, I mean, people are the big bad, but there was a little bit more to it. There were more layers to what was going on in the cult beyond just somebody having ultimate mind control and manipulation over their flock or the people that they lead. And so onward and upwards, because we're gonna read our next book, which is Last Days. I think that this is back on the horror side of cults. I think that there might be some paranormal ghost type things happening, so we shall see. And I'll be back with an update, hopefully, because the way the vlogging is going, could get an update, you might not. I know you're like, what's happening? I wanted to give you guys a little update on, I wanted to say the trees. That's not what this is called. It's called Last Days. And you're like, why is it so bright in there? You know why it's bright? Because I'm scared. I'm scared. I'm like 40% of the way into the book and I really, really like it. So I haven't given any updates about this book yet. So let me talk about it a little bit. So we have this guy, Kyle. He is a filmmaker and he has mostly done films about occultish stuff. The dark, the occult, the very niche things that someone only who's like super interested in something would know about. But like he had some hits and then he had a couple of projects that were, he gets approached by a producer and it's like, hey, I have this documentary idea that I really want you specifically to handle. I've seen your work. I know how you edit. I've seen your stuff. I love it. And so he wants them to explore, Kyle and his team, to explore the cult called The Last Gathering. And so this was a cult that started in London. They moved to France and then eventually moved to the US, where they had their untimely demise, the whole cult. They were just, it's giving Jonestown, right? And so Kyle is like, you know, let me see if my team will get to it. I don't have any information. And it's also very like weird because the producer's like, I already had a schedule for you. I already know who you're going to interview. I've already lined it up. I've got tickets for you. Boom, boom, boom. But we're on a very tight schedule. Like we've got 2 weeks or so to like get all of this done. And Kyle's like, hold on, pump the brakes. Let me check if I'm available. He is. His job is almost non-existent and he got time. He also needs the money. He is broke. And the advance for this and then the ultimate payout for the documentary is very high. He convinces his team to go on this project. And so it's him and his friend Dan, who's the camera guy, and then this other guy, his name is Finger Mouse. I don't get it. It makes me laugh every time I see it. But Finger Mouse is the editor for like all of their projects. And so Kyle and Dan, they first go to their first location in London. It is the first place where the cult kind of started, where it grew. And they're meeting one of the founding members of the cult, because there's not a whole lot of them left. And so they go there, they interview this woman, and then really weird things happen at this location. There's sights and smells and just creepy feelings, and you're not really sure what's going on. And as they are editing their footage, you are coming along with them and seeing the things that they're seeing. It's all filmed and edited Blair Witch style, and which, if you've ever seen it, it's like a guerrilla crew, and it's very on the ground, but also very scary. I like it a lot. So yeah, so they've gone to London, they've gone to France, they've had some very scary encounters, and now they're on their way to America, Arizona, I think, to like kind of see the last place that this cult lived. And so in each place that they've been to, there's been a very creepy, spooky encounter. And then there's this feeling that something is following them now, like something has attached itself to them. And it's just so scary. Also, I probably have not been helping myself because I read this at night, because my daytime book has been Way of Kings, because if I listen to Way of Kings at night, I for sure will be asleep. This has been my nighttime book, and so I like to lay in bed in the dark and read. And I have not really been doing that because I'm scared. The lights have been on. On occasion, when the lights have been off, I'm just like, I don't even want to look around, because if I can't see it, it can't see me. Whatever it is. I don't know what it is. Anyway, so we're not in the ins and outs, the daily of the cult, but you're getting bits and pieces of the leader and how she was manipulative and how she like tried to keep people separate while still maintaining that everyone was together. You find out like these really creepy ways that they were keeping children in the cult. Everyone's like, oh, we're all parenting the children, but like, are they? It's just so atmospheric and tense, and you don't know what's going on, except that at every location you know that something is going to pop up and show out. And so I can't wait to see where this is going. They are at like the final location, and I'm just like, what's going to happen in the rest of the book? It kind of reminds me of Silver Nitrate by Sylvia Moreno Garcia, where it was like there was this feeling that something was following them, something had latched onto them, and they had to do something in order to like get this entity to leave them alone. And I feel like that's what's gonna happen here, and I can't wait. This one, it's got that horror, creepy, tense, just my shoulders be up here, okay? I'm reading my shoulders be all the way up here. I'd be scared. Oh my gosh, I was listening at one point. I had on a little Halloween, I think it was like spooky Halloween ambiance, and I had to turn it off because it was like the wind was whistling and like scattered leaves, and I said, I can't. I am scared. I am terrified. So I ended up putting on like some light jazz so I could read it and feel comfortable, but still have like something on in the background. So that's where I am with this. I'm having a grand old time. Okay, so I just finished Last Days. And by me just finished, I mean I just closed it. Well, I didn't close it because I was reading it on my Kindle, but anyway, that's not the point. I finished it because I wanted to finish it last night, but I may have been under the influence, and I did not want to be scared and under the influence at the same time. And so Ray was like, you know, you probably shouldn't, you probably should not read that. So I didn't. So I watched, what's that show on Netflix? Big Mouth? I feel like that's the name of the cartoon. Anyway, I had a grand old time last night. But today, I had an event, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna get home, and I only have like an hour or so left of the book, and so I'm gonna finish it. And I did. It had me in the first half, and then actually had me in like the first 75%. And then just towards the end, I was just like, I don't know. So the main character, Kyle, he was getting on my nerves because we're following him as he obviously wants to get this money so that he can get out of debt. And so he's like, I'm just gonna film this. And I don't care what I see. I don't care what I may think I see, but we're just gonna power through. He convinces his friend to power through. Things are happening to him and his friend, the people who come into contact with them in the making of this film, and at no point was Kyle like, you know what, I think it might be best if we step away. At every turn he was like, I gotta finish. Even when he was like, I think I'm being screwed over by the producer. That being said, the first 75% I was with it. The first half we're really following as he goes from location to location, getting interviews, learning more about the cult. And the more he learns, the more you learn. And the cult is wild. Like, you think it's just based on a power tripping person, which yeah, kind of, but like then you start to get the paranormal aspects of it, and how it wasn't something that just started in the 70s, and it started earlier, and you're just like, ooh, what's happening? And there's so much happening. You're getting so much history and layers and layers and layers of the history of this cult. Then you're also getting like these nuggets because the producer isn't telling Kyle everything up front. Max should get punched in the face for that. That's the producer. It sort of dealt with the psychology of being in a cult, how it's so easy to connect yourself to a figure that is charismatic, who makes you feel like they have powers beyond what is normal. And especially if you're already in a vulnerable place where you're like, I'm looking for change, I want to be part of something, and I want to feel like connected to people. Like, I could see how you end up being in a cult. And then we even got the psychology of people being like, when they start to lose fascination with the cult itself after living through some of the terrors that they were going through, or just some of the hardships. Like, some people were being starved for purposes, not that there's ever a reason for being starved, but some people were being starved. The living conditions weren't the greatest. Meanwhile, the leader was just living the best life, famous. And so you get a little bit of psychology, and then we get a little bit of the horror, because there's the creepy crawlies, the things that go bump in the night that really got me, because I love to be scared over here, which is crazy because why would I want to be scared? The light is changing fast, so we're gonna wrap this up. Anyway, I had a really good time with this. I think I would read more from Adam Neville, and I guess that brings us to the end of this. So I read 4 books. I read 4 books about cults, some better than others. My favorite by far was Just Like Mother. I don't know what I was expecting from it, but it was so good. So good. Was the main character stupid? Yeah. Yeah, girl, because when somebody tells you you've got to get away, you got to get away. But I just thought it was fascinating how, like, you could grow up in a cult and want to distance yourself from it, and then maybe end up getting swept back up in it again. And then the allegiances you feel to the people from the cult, because you have these bonded experiences and feelings, and it's just like, yikes. So Just Like Mother, top tier. And that was my experiences with cults this this vlog. I don't foresee myself getting into any cults. I can't see it, because I have yet to read about a cult where they were living in comfortable conditions. Everybody was treated equally and well, and so that's just gonna be a no for me. You know what I mean? But if the cult has puppies and everyone gets like it could. I mean, I just don't see it happening for me. But I was gonna say never, but let's say never on that one. Let's definitely say never on that one. But yeah, that's what I have for you guys. I hope that you had a good culty vlog time with me. Did I do a whole lot of anything? No. But that's not what we're here for. We were here to talk about the cults. Yeah. And we did. But that's what I have. Let me know if you've read any of these books, if you liked any of them, if you think you might read any of them. Highly suggest Just Like Mother. And maybe also Last Days. Let me know. Let's talk about this down below in the comments. And until next time, bye.